followed. They do not really understand this conflict, but we do, or we have become very aware that there's a huge human catastrophe potentially playing out there with thousands and thousands of civilians trapped between the government forces and the the Tamil Tigers as they put up their last stand. Is there a role of the United States? President Obama came out this week. He made a very clear statement. He said that both sides need to stand down. What should the U.S. do here?
Look, this is the bitter end of a very, very bitter war.
But it's taking so long.
Well, and you know what? When you have ethnic nationalism and you have suicide bombers among your insurgents, the Tamil Tigers, and you have a government that wants to finish it off finally and feels that earlier peace overtures have gotten nowhere, there's a lot of bad blood on both sides that is causing new blood to be spilled.
So, but do we just stand by and watch these civilians die without...
Well, no, and in fact, Secretary Clinton was saying that maybe we should hold up an IMF loan or delay it until the government eases up a little bit and lets some civilians out, although it wasn't quite as explicit as that. And that may be something. But the real tragedy here is the Civil War itself. And frankly, the more interesting question to me is when the government finally wins, will it have the magnanimity to treat the former enemies generously and put the whole conflict behind them?
And that's exactly where the U.S. can begin to apply some leverage, is beginning of thinking of the aftermath of this bitter, brutal last phase of a terrible war. And I think I would be so bold as to say I don't think the U.S. has a role in actively playing a part. I think it has a role in the diplomacy that will be needed in the aftermath. We can't be everywhere. We're in Iraq, we're in Afghanistan, we're in the seas off Somalia.
Right.
We can't be everywhere, and I think it's a mistake to think we should be.
Well, speaking of everywhere, the Pope seemed to be everywhere, at least in the Middle East, when it came to his